This is an RNZ podcast.
As we heard earlier, the National Party is targeting government spending on consultants and contractors, and for months that was also part of its opposition to the government's proposed new public media entity. Now that failed the new Prime Minister's bread and butter policy test just last month, before it was due to be brought into being this month. And this week that led to some awkward questions about the sums spent on it so far, from the opposition broadcasting spokesperson, Melissa Lee.
No break fee at all.
No, there's a termination clause in the contract with Deloitte. Deloitte's been paid just beneath 4 million, 3.87 million, and their contract was terminated as soon as we could by the end of February. We've received their final invoice.
Well, that was the Ministry for Culture and Heritage's Deputy Chief Executive, Emily Fabling, explaining there to Parliament's Social Services and Community Committee that Deloitte, which is just one of the consultancy companies who worked on the aborted public media entity plan, has just billed the government for just under $4 million. Melissa Lee also asked why the board that was supposed to be establishing the new entity was still meeting and still getting paid a month after the government dumped the plan. And Emily Fabling also confirmed that the establishment board would have what she called a final closeout meeting soon, and then a final report for the minister by the end of this month, and that would bring its work finally to an end. And later, the Broadcasting and Media Minister Willie Jackson raised eyebrows in that meeting when he told the committee that the board's work, and the millions spent over 4 years, was not a waste, but a great investment.
Yes, I know it's 16.1 million, but we're talking about future-proofing New Zealand media. And while we don't have a merger, we know where we're going. And in a better time, Melissa, when we don't have a cyclone and we don't have the floods of the century, who knows, we might be able to roll that merger out.
This was the first time since the Prime Minister announced that the merger had been scrapped last month that Willie Jackson had spoken about it publicly, though in the interim he was also one of the ministers deployed to Hawke's Bay to oversee aspects of the Cyclone Gabrielle recovery. But later that day on News Talk ZB, senior political correspondent Barry Soper wasn't at all convinced to hear the minister cite the cyclone as a reason that the merger hadn't happened.
He's making no apologies and seemed to even blame the cyclone on canning the project, even though it was dumped before Gabrielle hit.
And when Willie Jackson was quizzed by Nationals Melissa Lee in Parliament on Thursday, he added a bit of clarity.
And yesterday we were talking in a different environment. The reality is that the merger is finished, the merger is over. We will not be bringing it back, not now, and not in the future, and not in the upcoming campaign.
And Willie Jackson's claim that the government is much better informed now about what New Zealanders want was also a surprising one. The public wasn't consulted about the public media plan at all until there was a bill before Parliament, and many of the hundreds of people who submitted on that really didn't like important aspects of it. But if they know where they're going on all this now, as Willie Jackson said there, well, exactly where that is isn't clear just yet. Willie Jackson's immediate and most pressing task now is to take to Cabinet a strategy for funding a non-merged RNZ into the future, as well as any other plans for funding or supporting the public media. And as we heard last week, that will also include some provision for old-fashioned AM radio, which proved to be an information lifeline during Cyclone Gabrielle, as MP Dr Emily Henderson reminded the Minister this week in that Select Committee hearing.
As you know, I'm from Te Tai Tokerau Whangarei, and we were recently quite seriously hit by the lovely Gabrielle. And my family and friends in various pockets and many people around my electorate found themselves relying on AM radio. And it really highlighted how vital the AM RNZ function is. So my question to you is, what work has the government done to protect and ensure that the vital AM transmission function for what's going to be a world of trouble in the future?
And in reply to that, Willie Jackson said AM radio has been underrated, and he was pretty bothered by all the kōrero about it closing down lately.
I would think that we would get a lot of support right across the spectrum because we've seen the results firsthand. So I'm just pleased that injection helped and really saved people's lives.
So this then is another part of the strategy which Willie Jackson will soon take to Cabinet, and he told the committee he hopes for a green light on that by early next month. And that's pretty soon after that final report from the Public Media Entity Establishment Board, due at the end of this month, which Willie Jackson said would also inform his strategy. So, for now, that strategy remains still firmly under wraps, beyond the short-term financial book-balancing boost, which was signalled by the Prime Minister after he scrapped the merger at the last minute last month. Willie Jackson wound up his appearance before that Select Committee hearing by telling the committee that the need to get it all right is still urgent.
We're talking about an industry that was collapsing on us, and everyone has said that. Everyone knew we had to do something. Some said that, well, we don't have to have a merger to fix things. But I think there was a huge acknowledgement right across the sector from all areas and people with all different political affiliations that we have to do something. And that challenge is still in front of me, and I'm hoping to do that, to try and get a cohesive and coordinated strategy going over the next 5 months.
And it will be fascinating to see what is in that cabinet paper for the future of public media funding, and just how much of the findings from what he called money well spent since 2019 can be found in whatever it is that Cabinet gives the green light to this time.